Squatch Senior here, back on the Super M engine overhaul. Just back from a couple of days of Grandpa and Grandma daycare down at my daughter's place. In fact, I'll be by myself here for a few days. Wife is going to continue with just Grandma daycare. Got a few minutes to get into this cam bearing installation process that I'm trying to do here. So I found a slight issue. I think first thing I'm going to do is get this bushing out here that I trashed trying to install that the other day. I got my installer remover tool here. I can slide that in till just about bottoms out on my step here. We're come in from the other side, this thing all mushroomed out and I can't get it any farther. So instead of forcing this in any farther and risking any damage to my tool, I'm going to turn this thing around, and I do have a slight step here where it didn't install all the way in, and I'm just going to put this in and pull that out backwards. Should work with no problem, without issues. I've got the corners rounded off on my tool here, so it shouldn't have any scoring or scarring going on. Okay, so let's get that installation tool set up in there, and I'll let you guys ride along and see how this thing is going to work. Okay, we're all set up. We'll get the wrenches on her and we'll see what starts happening here. Well, I see movement. It actually isn't going too bad. Okay, like I say, I got the wrench on my double lock nut here. I'm just turning by that one, and you can see that keeps the pull rod and my installation tool from spinning inside that bearing. Keeps everything coming out nice and square and even. Getting pretty easy going now. Shouldn't be too much more. I'm going to take her easy, see if I can catch it before it bounces into the block bore. Oh, there we go. Should be no problem. Everything seemed like it fit real good. Bushing popped out. And I think we accomplished what we started out to do. I'll get this thing taken apart and we'll kind of look at this bushing and just see what things look like. As you can see, I got just a little slack in there. With my bushing installation tool in, it keeps my rod from going down and scarring up the block bore. So for the most part, it seems like it's working really good. Okay, got everything laid out on the bench here. We'll take a good look at this center cam bearing to see what kind of damage we did. You can see an awful lot where the babbitt had flaked off the lining. And if you look here, she was pretty well hammered out. She'd mushroomed pretty good. That's where it kept me from going in. That's caused my problem. As you can see, when I put my installation tool in there, it only goes in that far. That's because everything is mushroomed out. That's the reason I turned this around and brought it out backwards. I don't see any marking or anything on my tool from pushing this thing out. For the most part, I think she worked pretty good. Anyway, we'll start getting bearings set up here for the installation process, and we'll get back at her as soon as I get all that done. Okay, let's go through the bearings I received for this thing. First set of bearings I got was a Reliance brand, and the second set they sent me was Seal Power brand. Kind of like the Seal Power a little better. Each set, approximately $35 for a set of three, not astronomical. Like they say, education costs money. Some of it costs more than others, and I figured this, if it works, was a pretty cheap investment in education. Anyway, let's go through the bearings and we'll see what the differences are. This is the Reliance bearing. As you can see, there's a pretty good taper down both sides. I'm assuming that's so you can install that into the bore either way. What that does, though, it leaves you a pretty thin driving or installation ridge right there, which might have been my problem with the other one. As you'll see in the Seal Power, you got one side that's pretty well tapered, The other side's pretty well squared off with a slight radius. I'm assuming that this here will be better off going in with a taper first, which is going to work pretty good in my application. Because looking at the alignment of the oil holes, I'm going to have to put the installation tool on this edge right here, which is going to be give me a beefier edge to pull in, and I should be ready to go. Okay, let's get this thing set up and we'll give her a test and cross our fingers and hope everything works the way it's supposed to. Okay, get everything set up here. As you'll see, I've got an oil feed hole here, which has got to be lined up with this one right here. You can kind of see a channel that goes down. I've got a mark down in there so I can get alignment there. I kind of eyeball down through there too, you know, just to kind of make sure everything is lined up. This bearing also has a hole on the bottom, which goes through and it feeds the rocker arm assembly up above. So you make sure them are lined up for your oil feed holes or you'll be wiping a bearing out in no time. Okay, should be set up. I did a little bit of polishing and stuff on the chamfer there. Hopefully it won't score. And we'll give this thing a test, and I'll basically operate this thing the same way I did when I removed the other bearing. Okay, let's go. Cross your fingers, guys. Okay, tension. Yeah, so far it's going really nice. Now when this bearing is fully installed, you want the edge of the bearing right flush with the front edge of the bore. So let's finish drawing this thing in, and so far it seems to be going pretty good. Okay, just about there. I'll start taking her a little slower. Keep a good eye on her. A little bit more. Okay, I think I'm going to call that good. Well, see how this thing comes apart. Hopefully everything comes apart without binding. What I did is I turned my installation tool to the same diameter as the camshaft, so I figured the camshaft would go in after this is installed. This thing should come apart. We'll see. Get this shaft out of the way. Yeah, slides right under. Perfect. I like it. And it looks good. Holes are lined up nice. I don't think we'll have a problem. Well, on to the next one. One more to go, and then we'll sit that cam in there and see what we come up with. Okay, all set up to install the front cam bearing here. As you can see, I got my longer shaft set up in there, my pull rod. I did put the center guide in just to help keep this centered here. I got the back guide bushing in the where the expansion plug goes to keep her lined up there. Got the taper started. I've got the bearing in the right direction so the holes will line up. I've got marks here from the bearing and where the feed passage goes. And this one also has another hole right here that feeds some of the gears and stuff up in the front here. Okay, let's see how this one works. Going in, not too bad. Now this one here, you can see this is a step of my front guide. I put it on the other way. So when this seam lines up with the block, that's as far as we go. Starting to tighten up just a little, so that tells me I got a really nice press fit. We're just about home. Right there, looks good. Get everything apart and see how my oil holes line up. Now is when you want to be super careful taking things out so you don't scar up the cam bearings. I'm just going to see if I can leave my installation tools in there until I get the threaded rod out. Okay, we're out of center one. You just don't want this thing here scarring up your bearings. Okay, everything there went good. Slide the sleeve out. That's working good. Shine a light down. See if my oil holds. Perfect, I like it. I think we got her done, guys. I'm pretty impressed the way this thing worked out. And like I say, to me it's a whole lot better than a hammer. Next step, we'll slide the cam in, see if that goes in, and spin around a few times, see if we got any high spots. Well, I got all my cam bearing tools put away. Hopefully I will not need them again. As you can see, I've got the cam laid out here. I went through, taped up all the lobes here, kind of protect my bearings as I slide it in. The gear that drives the oil pump, stuff like that. Got the bearings oiled up and ready to go. As you can see, I do have part of my selection of bearing scrapers here. If I need to do some scraping, I'll probably be using one of these. I just kind of set them out here for an example to show you what I had. Okay, I've got a kind of a light skim coat of oil on the bearings there, like I mentioned already. And cam loads all taped up. Let's see what happens when we put this thing in there. Okay, the front and center bearings are about ready to enter the cam bearings. Okay, back one is just about ready to go. This thing is really turning nice in the first two that I just got done installing. Let's see what happens in the back one. Well, we're entering okay. Oh yeah, we are getting super stiff now, and I'm not even halfway in. We'll get her kind of pushed in there a little bit. Yeah, I'm not even able to push this thing in. I'm going to turn a little bit to get some wear pattern established. We'll pull it out and see what our bearing looks like. But I think, seeing how stiff this is, a little bit of scraping might help, but I have a feeling this bearing has been pretty severely compromised from hammering. So we'll pull this out, we'll have a look and see what we got. See if we can get this out of there without having a disaster on the good bearings. We'll work it out slowly. Okay, we're loose there. I'll get this out of the way and have a look at her. Okay, let's take a look at this bearing and see what we look like here. Let's see if we can get the camera positioned down here. Hopefully you can make it out. I can see some pretty heavy shiny spots right all the way, pretty much all the way around from what I can see on this bottom half, which basically a block upside down would be the top half. And I can see inside here too, where I'm getting a lot of, just all the way around. You can see, I don't know if I can shine her up, but yeah, I've got some pretty heavy scuffing going on in there. Just, I don't like it. I think that bearing's going to be replaced, which means back to the lathe. I got to make me one more installer tool, which I only did the two, but if I get one more done, I'll have a complete set for an M engine. So anyway, that's where we're at for the time being. Okay, I got my other bearing installation tool here all machined out. You'll notice there is a keyway in it. I kind of cheated on this one. I took a welder hub with a 3/4 inch bore. All I had to do is chuck it in and turn it down. When I turn these down, I turn these to the same diameter as the cam journal. That's what I did with the other ones and worked perfect. Now, I did do a test fit in here already from the back side. You get down here, see if you can see it. And when I go in, I start binding right there. So instead of forcing this in and getting this old bearing out, I'm going to do like I did with the center one. I'm going to turn it around and come in backwards with it and pull it out. Then what I'll do when I install the new one, I'll turn this around, I'll put the bearing on, and I'll pull it in from the back side. There we go. Okay, all set up to pull that thing in. Okay, got a light coating of oil on the cam bearings. I cleaned up the cam shaft on the bearings journals, and let's see what happens here. We'll give this thing a test. Okay, first two bearings started in. Let's see what happens here. Got a little stiffness there, but there I'm bottomed out. Pretty much turns really nice. Considerably better than that other one I did. Pretty happy with that. Next step is to take her, clean her, take her out. We'll rotate her a little bit, see if we can find high spots and stuff. Get them scraped down with the scrapers, and we'll call her good. A little bit more work to do, but for right now, I think my driving cam bearings is no longer going to be done. As long as if I have to make special installers, I'm going to use them for removing also. So anyway, this here really works slick, I thought, a whole lot better than the hammer. So anyway, guys, that's the installation part of this cam bearing on the Super M.